content useful and applicable. I'll now hand over to Shumik Ghoshal, who will take you through today's content. Thank you again.
Hi all, hope you can hear me properly. I'm Shumik. I've been with the RSA family for quite some time now, nearly 10 years. So predominantly looking into the technology part of it. I've moved over to the dark side recently, but of sales recently. But yeah, predominantly has been a technologist from nearly all my career, and specifically into identity and authentication. Now, what we have seen and what we are seeing is things have changed. We realize things have changed. COVID has come, and it has asked us to go ahead and address what we have not been addressing for a good amount of time. So, in digital transformation, we are seeing that
Shumik, you muted yourself.
Okay, is it okay now?
Yes.
All right. So with the large number of apps, what we're seeing is that we need to address all of those requirements. We need to go to cloud. Business is asking us to go ahead and give employees access, etc. And what is happening is our attack surface, which was confined to the enterprise perimeter, has moved, and we were not prepared. So Xerox Workforce did a study, Xerox Future Workforce did a study, and found out that more than 72% of the organizations were not prepared to go to cloud with the speed which it was asked during the previous COVID scenarios. With single password, going to cloud is not secure at all, and it's basically exposing your environment. As Vikas already showed you, whereas in the BIR it has been showing it from day one. Passwords have been, or single passwords have been a prime factor in breaches as well. Now, we are mandated to go towards cloud. We are increasing our attack surface. We are increasing the risk, but the regulatory and internal compliance requirements are not changing. They are still over there. They want their security. They want their privacy. They want their privacy for the end customers. They want their security for the end users. What we are seeing is what it has led to is that there are critical business initiatives which need to be addressed in this structure, in this requirements as of now. End users who are moving out from the ease of access which they used to get in their offices. Everything was easy, everything was accessible. There was no changes, no bleeps and bounds. They need convenient access. They need convenient access from their laptops. They need convenient access from their mobile, the business means the business is also with them because they need to work. We need to enable remote workforce. With remote workforce, what we're seeing is that they are very digital savvy, but we need to enable them and let them go ahead and make them give them that access. But we need to ensure their security as well. Cloud is something which heavily has come up. The investment, the initial slow-moving pace towards cloud adoption has moved very drastically and dynamically. And then with all of these coming in, as I said before, mandator means regulators and compliance and security people are asking for something which is called identity assurance. When they are saying identity assurance, they are asking for authenticating everything. Okay. They also want all of these things, all of these accesses, all of these access to cloud or on-prem or the mixed mode capabilities to be governed to be governed in a scenario where everything is auditable, everything is viewable, and all. Now, the cloud use cases also have increased one thing. The cloud use cases are asking for, it's not a VPN type access anymore. If you go ahead and see, they are asking for very targeted, specific set of roles and requirements. If you still give VPN type accesses in a IaaS or a SaaS environment, it exposes your uh, environment uh, phenomenally. Now, what this has led to is to understand and take over zero trust. Zero trust has been there for a long amount of time. I think it is the initial zero trust discussions happened somewhere around in 2010, 2011. But this is making much more relevance as of now. So it's not a product, it's basically a strategy. Finally, NIST has also went ahead and finally came out with the draft in 2019, finalized the draft, and finalized it in 2020, somewhere around middle of the year. It is SP 800-207, and it has been accepted and has been finalized. So basically, it's a strategy wherein you consider, basically the idea is that you differentiate between resources and accesses and identities. These planes are very detached of each other. So when we say, what exactly do we mean by that? So everything is considered as a resource. So let us say your device is a resource. Your data in the device is also a resource. Your data in cloud is also a resource. So uh, everything has to be considered as a resource and has to be secured during the communication. All communication has to be authenticated. We used to, and we were used to work in offices, and we were used to give uh, remote workers exactly the office experience by exposing VPN to them. As of now, that is a uh, very wide exposure. You cannot go ahead and expose your entire Azure environment to a remote worker. Uh, Per session access, so every session has to be accessed and authenticated. The policies have to be flexible, and the policies have to be policies have to be dynamic based on the risk which is being imposed per authentication or per access. Say, for example, I'm accessing it from my regular device. I might be given a bit of a leisure that I'm not challenged for the second time. But as of now, if I change my browser and move to Afghanistan for that case, I might go ahead and get a challenge. So these decisions are not static. That means somebody at the back end is not doing these decisions uh, per session based, but this decision is being done by the platform dynamically per session. All assets are being monitored, and every assets and every authentication access or every access method for those assets are being checked, should be checked. And resource should be dynamically authenticated. Now, policies for authentication, policies for access were dynamic as well, and resources are also dynamically accessed based on the criticality. Say, for example, you will never create different, means hundreds of policies based on 100 of devices or 100 of resources you go ahead and add. You will go ahead and create different type of resources, associate them with some kind of a templates, and automatically their authentication levels should be going up. Say, for example, you go ahead and add a critical application based out of SaaS platform, it might ask you a second factor authentication every time you come in. If you are coming in from the VPN platform of your organization and you're going towards the SaaS, might be that the second challenge is not over there. So all these kind of dynamic policies should be part of the authentication. And last but not the least, and which is the biggest of them, is every authentication, every information is collected. The enterprise would like to see what is happening. The enterprise would like to see how you are moving around. The enterprise would like to see how your device is behaving, how you as a user is behaving, how you as an identity is behaving. So all of this data is being collected and used to protect your identity itself as an end user, as a consumer. Uh, so this is what the strategy is. This is what zero trust is, what we believe, and we have taken a look at it. So we broke it down. We broke it down into predominantly 4 stages, starting with stage 0, wherein we go ahead and understand what is happening in your perimeter, what is happening, what is static, what is in your, how the static has to be, given address to. What kind of a perimeter definition do you have? What kind of a authentication definitions you have? What kind of a static passwords do you have? So we can go ahead and address those, and we can go ahead and address the second part of it, where you want to go ahead and shift the perimeter to either say on some kind of a cloud, Office 365 for that case to start with, or some other means SaaS or PaaS environments which you need to access. Especially during COVID, what we saw is that there was a large number of virtual desktop use cases wherein people were given VDI access based on cloud. Majority of the organizations who were partially prepared did go ahead and use these things. So the shift of the perimeter from your existing platform is also addressed. We can go ahead and integrate on integrate and cover your enterprises going towards cloud as well, the initiation of the journey, as well as throughout advanced processes as well for the cloud journey. User plus device access, means the access is not only for the user. We need to understand what the device is doing. If you go ahead and see from the monitoring and the SOC platform as well, they always go ahead and understand what is happening at the end user, what is happening at the end user device as well. It does not stop at the end user device. It also goes ahead on what the user is accessing to. So the target is also checked up. We are already passwordless. We don't want you to keep remembering passwords. Passwords have been a problem from day one in an enterprise. In an enterprise of somewhere around 5,000 people, what we see that in average people would have 14 different passwords. Remembering them is hard, and each and every password is a vulnerability for the security team. So 5,000 into 14 is a big number. So something which we want to do away with, but we want to keep the security over there. We have those capabilities. We have capabilities in FIDO. We have capabilities in passwordless authentication as well. In the trust factor, where we want to make the authentication dynamic, where we want to make it risk-based, basically around, as your access level changes, as your access score changes, we want to verify and we want to assure that whoever the end user is claiming to be is exactly the same person. Once we have done that, all of these are, either capabilities around some tools, either capabilities around some platforms. What we should lead to and what we should have is the ease of access, the ease of understanding identity. Identity is nothing but a human who's, and the associated accounts and entitlements around the human. If something is not human and there are still accounts, then we call it orphan. But all of those identities, it means irrespective of it being a human or an orphan, has to be understood by the organization. These identities has to be separated from the rest of the platforms and given access to. Even you will go ahead and see that we are seeing machines coming in, IoTs coming in. IoTs are also associated with some kind of a user at the back end. And if they are, the platform should be capable of addressing those as well, addressing the identity entirely decentralized from the underlying infrastructure, and keeping leg in the future as well, in terms of if you want to go ahead from cloud to IoT, it should be giving you the capability to authenticate those as well, or administer those as well. So how do we do it today? Normally, in nearly somewhere around 40% of the enterprises, we are still entirely VPN, and some of the efforts have gone to cloud. Say, for example, some of Office, some Salesforce, etc. Okay, uh, but there is a shift. There is a shift of asking how much we can move, how much we can be hybrid, so that we should be able to go ahead and give access and authentication. Okay. Now, once we give, especially around the SaaS platforms, if you go ahead and see, if you go ahead and give a password-based access, it creates a problem. Managing them is a problem, and as we discussed before, the vulnerability around a single password is a problem. So always it has to be followed by some kind of a secondary authentication. Now, what we are also seeing is that the hybrid scenarios are being accessed by different kind of corporate employees. They're coming in from home, they're coming in from on-prem, they're coming in from mobiles, they're coming in from remote access, they're asking for passwordless, they're using virtual desktops, and a single sign-on capability is also being asked for. Because single sign-on makes life easier, makes things much more secure, especially for the corporate access as well. Similarly, our customers are also asking for ease of access, asking for more methods of accessing. So what we need to address is a complete on-premise or complete hybrid kind of a scenario where we still have legacy on-premise platforms to given access to corporates. We have done investment in cloud, which needs to be addressed as well. We need to ease our access. We need to ease our platforms, make much more business-friendly customer portals, customer accesses, and keep things moving at the pace they are asking for. So some of those accesses might be given, might not be given, but everything has to be checked. And based on the dynamicity of the authentication level, everything has to be assured and accounted for each and every access. All right. So at RSA Secure ID, how are we doing it today? What we have done is we have broken down into 4 different methods, 4 different components. We need to give everybody all kind of authentication. So the platform should be homogeneous so that the end user is not restricted. Then we need to give it on an enterprise grade so it can scale. It can scale up and scale down dynamically. It has to have conditional access and risk-based assurance around it. And it needs to bridge the islands of identity. So say, for example, especially bigger PaaS providers have their own authentication platform, but they are very good at what they are good on, means they own. But it becomes very harder to once they move out of their comfort zone. As of now, if you go ahead and ask one of the big PaaS providers to give you an access on a mainframe, might be a challenge. Okay, so if we see modern authentication, people would come in with multiple varied kind of use cases of using their device. They can bring in a non-smart device as well. So SMS might be a gateway. They might be accessing the enterprise from offshore management center where your customer is not giving access to bring them even their cell phones. Then it might be a hard token. The might be that you need to go ahead and authenticate not only man in the middle, not only the 2-factor, you also need to address man in the middle. Then you might need FIDO. Okay. You might need to go ahead and create policies for proximity-based authentication, say, for example, especially around C-level people, wherein they would normally don't like to keep remembering the PIN. They would like ease of access when they're coming in. When they bring the cell phone near the laptops, it should automatically use the Windows Hello Business Hello protocol and go ahead and authenticate them. Wearables might be one of those use cases. So what we are saying is that irrespective of what kind of a device or what kind of a end device the end user has, we will be able to go ahead and bring them in and make a part of authentication. Now, once they are coming in, we will go ahead and ensure and verify that whoever they are claiming to be, they exactly are, and whatever their entitlement is, they're only getting that much of an access only. So say, for example, I'll just take a very live example, which we have in the legacy Dell EMC as well as RSA. Our Salesforce access, as a salesperson, I have access to Salesforce. If I access Salesforce without accessing VPN, I will always get a secondary challenge. If I even access Salesforce from a new browser, there might be two different kind of challenges on the same authentication session. So I might go ahead and do a secure ID token plus a biometric authentication. Depends on the security policy. But if I go ahead and access it from my VPN, so I do VPN first, I've been working in the VPN, and then I open Salesforce, then I'm not challenged again and again. So that gives me a comfort that as an end user, that, okay, I build my trust in my organization, that the organization is not harassing me, and it is giving me ease of access wherever they can, and it is also authenticating me to a proper level based on my entitlement. Okay. Okay. Bridging the islands of identity. As I said, um, both authentication and identity has been there for quite a long amount of time, but the acceptance of the platforms have been very, very, very scared and very not holistic in nature. Especially in enterprise, you might go ahead and see multiple authentication platforms. Why? Some do some use cases, some don't do those use cases. So they need multiple platforms. Why do we need multiple identity management sources? Because the identity management does not go to cloud, say, for example, or do on-prem, or a combination of both of those. What you need as of now is a platform which can homogeneously integrate not only your on-prem thick client legacy applications, it should also extend itself towards cloud, not only to PaaS, to SaaS, and all methods, even your on-prem cloud investments as well, and should be capable enough to authenticate you based on your identity, irrespective of what kind of a platform you're trying to access. So all of these capabilities make the identities risk centralized, and you can go ahead and take meaningful decisions based out of that. You can go ahead and deploy policies of entirely of zero trust, and you can go ahead and go forward to decentralized platform of authentication and a holistic view of what is happening in your identity platform. And the last but not the least, it has to be scalable. Beyond, say, for example, beyond 5,000 sessions per second, if it is a limitation, you might need another tool. As I said, there are not only security reasons or use cases for security use cases for adopting tools. There are scalability use cases for adopting different authentication tools as well. So, for example, if a tool is doing B2C, is it capable enough to do B2B as well? So those are the things, though we might not want to go ahead and mix both identity structures, but we should have the capability to, in the tools itself, to distinguish between my end user, my customer, and my vendor, and give authentication to them as well. So the tool should be capable enough to address all of those capabilities, and it should also be capable enough to create segregation between all of those requirements as well. All right. So the zero touch in zero trust. The biggest problem which we have seen in the last year, and means we talk to customers, understand this, RSA has been in the authentication platform or authentication business for more than 35 years now. One thing we do really good, and which I really like about my organization, is that we talk to our customers, we talk to our prospects, and we talk quite a lot, especially what is happening, what kind of a problem they are facing in the enterprise. What everybody or nearly everybody said that with the dynamicity of the change, the biggest problem was, do I still need to send somebody in the office to get this last thing done, or last access changed, or last, a policy change in my office? That was the biggest problem which we saw end users tried to address during the previous COVID. So what the platform has to be capable enough is that, everything has to be dynamic. It After the initial hardware setup, everything has to be policy driven, and everything has to be, you know, uh, every kind of a resource has to be added automatically to a specific set of templates. There has to be templates, dynamicity in the templates as well, wherein you can go ahead and create multiple templates. You should not be restricted to only some set of templates. You can go ahead and create templates in existing templates, changes in existing templates, and create new ones to address any exceptions as well. So all of the exceptions, all of those new use cases has to be addressed, and it has to also give you entirely segregated authentication layer with multi-challenge capability per session. So you might want to have multi-challenge capability per session as well. Say, for example, uh, in a single session, if you are seeing a very low risk score for a user, you don't want to drop that session directly. You want to verify, you can go ahead and use two different methods to verify, and you can have a very good confidence score around that challenge. And the information collection and everything around whatever the access is should be there. So what we are saying is that uh, what we're saying is that um, we need to give access to our end users. We need to authenticate our end users, customers, and enterprise people. We need to do it without any kind of a trust. Every access has to be checked. And just give me a second. Apologies for that. Some of the this is just some of the use cases where you work from home. All right. So the end users, we're not saying that we are not trusting my end user. We are trusting the end user. Okay. But we need to have the same trust on the access he is trying to do. Okay. Once we trust the access, and once we have verified that the user is the same identity as we have enrolled in our organization, we will give him the most ease of access, the most easy way of access inside the organization as well. Ensure that his security in the organization is paramount, and we follow that. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to give a platform which is frictionless, which adapts to different applications, has already containers built in for all of those applications, integrations and everything is built in for majority of applications. If you go ahead and see, RSA has more than 500 applications in the repository, where both the target vendor and RSA have certified both of them in, means the integrations built in. And the support, both the support teams actually acknowledge that, and documentation is around there. So this reduces the friction of going ahead and deploying authentication across the entire platform, across entire tools, and accesses as well. So this is our core capability of doing a zero trust, giving you the zero trust capability, separating the entire identity from the underlying infra, accessing and authenticating everything, every session, uh, especially with two-factor and multi-session authentication as well, and the ease of deployment in a scenario where moving to office or going to office would be a very, very risky factor. Okay. Yeah. Any questions till now? Means the next slide is what we did over quite a good amount of years. Any questions till now?
Soumik, I don't see any question in the chat, so maybe we can take questions at the end when we go live with Q&A.
Can you please? So there is, I think. Can you please details on the backend infrastructure required to use it? Okay. So so the backend infrastructure is a very small amount of a footprint. It can be based on your, say for example, based on 5,000 sessions per second, which is a very big number. If you take a device, it would be somewhere around 16 gig of RAM with a 4-core server with a 300 GB of disk to it. So understand this, the infrastructure is not so big of a requirement as of now, and the infrastructure on which we provide authentication is also very, very small. It's a small footprint, but the capability is you can go ahead and expand it to multiple places. There is no limitation where you can go ahead and expand it. Not only in India, you can go ahead and make it all over the world. We have customers who have presence across the world. They have more than 17 instances deployed and running parallelly. Sessions are load balanced between themselves. User authentication across the globe happen in the single platform across the globe. So the footprint is very small, but the capability to address sessions and capability to address authentication identity is pretty high. All right, so thanks, Vikas. I'll go ahead to the next slide on a brief history of RSA. The organization is kind of nearly as old as me. When they created the means algorithm. They came up with the time synchronous OTP. They came up with the secure ID token. If you go ahead and see, the hardware token was built first, but if you go ahead and see, we had a soft token from 1996. Okay, 2003 with the mobile adoption of things, we came out on mobile apps as well. We came out with smart cards and SMS-based authentication in 2001, 2002. The entire gamut of risk-based authentication was addressed in 2009, 2011. In 2015, we went ahead and brought in all. So in 2013, we did an investment in an organization where we brought in and we merged capabilities. And then in 2015, we released it to end customers. Brought in all the gamut of authentication capabilities possible. If your end user is asking for fingerprint, or so for example, variables, or a combination of a hard token or a USB token, all of those capabilities are possible. So what it helps, and what, as I said before as well, so we don't have to create another authentication platform just because the end user had asked for a USB based token. Or the end user is asking for a biometric authentication. So it's a single platform where we give you the capability of whatever the authentication method is, we will be able to integrate with you and give access to it. We are a part of the FIDO board members. Okay, FIDO is an authentication mechanism where it not only authenticates, it authenticates the end user. Okay, end user can have their own FIDO authentication methods. They can bring it in your enterprise and they would be able to authenticate as well, especially around vendors who are coming in. As of now, what we are seeing, FIDO especially being used by large organizations who are in the vendor, who work as support vendors to larger organizations. They bring in their authentication and we automatically bring them into the platform. Okay. Windows Hello was integrated in 2018, wherein you could go ahead and authenticate directly to your devices, which are Windows Hello based. You didn't have to bring in your password. You come near the device, it would automatically authenticate you. Azure AD, multi-factor authentication. So Azure can go ahead and give you a single sign-on platform. We can give you a second factor authentication to that, or we can go ahead and be a single platform to your Azure investment as well. Similar to Google, similar to AWS, we secure all of those from a single method. We also take away capabilities and constraints from past platform wherein you might need to have the root authenticator. So if everything fails, you'll still be given access to your on-prem, and we can fail over to on-prem and be able to authenticate you. Yeah. So in 2019, we did an integration with Ubico, so we can go ahead and sell Ubico as well, which is basically a FIDO vendor. All right. So yeah, what we are trying to say, and what I'm trying to say in the whole scenario is that we will be empowering with you with any kind of a platform where you want to increase or scale to any kind of a any kind of a size of an organization as well. We will give you flexibility to bring in whatever methods of authentication you want to bring in. We already do more than 50 million identities, which is a big number. Okay. And if you authenticate yourself properly, if you identify yourself properly, we give you a very convenient and easy way of authentication, wherein we don't want to challenge you multiple times. We don't want to make you remember your passwords. We don't want to, we don't want to harass the end user, but also give the identity assurance to the enterprise that whoever the user has claimed to be is the same guy. We are a built-in zero trust platform, okay, wherein if you go ahead and see the entire identity and authentication can be entirely different from the underlying infrastructure, and it can authenticate every session who is coming into the enterprise beforehand as well. I am at the end of my presentation. If you I would like to take questions as of now. Because
yeah, so there are a couple of questions in the chat box. You wanna go through those?
yeah. So can you go through them, and I'll basically answer.
Yeah, I think Gavin is already answering those. Let me see.
Well, Sumit, while he's doing that, one of them was around obviously the legacy-based applications and environments that we support. And I said over 500 common applications and anything that we do through SAML. One of the other questions on top of that was, how is this different to Office 365 multi-factor authentication?
Okay, good question. So let us take the legacy first. Okay. So we started authenticating legacy platforms when we started nearly 30 years ago. So all of those credibility, your mainframes and all capability to authentication is still over there. We do thick clients, we do agent-based authentication, okay, and we do all of those integrations. So we built over time and kept it updating over time as well. Apart from that, if you don't have a connector built in, then we have something which are called generic connectors. So we can go ahead and create a REST-based API. We can go ahead and create a Java or a C-based connector. We can go ahead and create other APIs to go ahead and connect to you. So if it is a legacy application, and it is thick client, if it is, we will be able to go ahead and create either a direct integration method or an authentication method with you, or we will create an umbrella of security around you. Say, for example, to an application which does not has an authentication mechanism, you can create an umbrella around that application and only give access to authenticated users. So those capabilities are there to address legacy. Now, this same platform can go ahead and authenticate in Office 365 as well. The difference between us and Office 365 is if you want Office to authenticate legacy, it might take a bit of a challenge. Yeah, so that's the core difference.
All right, Speak, there's another one here. Is this a risk-based authentication solution for an enterprise end users and can detect and block fraudulent transactions based on various models?
Yes.
From Kamal.
So it builds the core of the platform is it builds a risk score. Okay, it creates a risk score over a time for every user, and if there is a change, it basically challenges on a dynamic method on a multiple session way. So basically the challenge is around whatever the risk score is. Now I gave you an example wherein there was a policy which was created for the end user who is coming in from VPN or who is coming in from the internet. Now that policy was not created from IP ranges. The policy was created if it is a known source, then don't challenge again. If it is an unknown source, then challenge again. So the dynamicity is not around static list of IP addresses. The dynamicity is around sources which are known source and which are unknown sources. You can go ahead and add to the list of known sources, and that's it. So you can go ahead and add a static list of your enterprise. You can go ahead and static list of your domains. You can go ahead and static list of your partner domains for that case. Okay, say for example, if a partner for you is coming in from a trusted extended office for you, you might not go ahead and do a challenge for him. Or say for example, the risk score can be on your geofencing as well. Say your CTO is having a talk with his prime vendor as of now, and they are trying to access it from the enterprise from a cafe just near the office. You might want to create a geofencing kind of capability where you understand that your C-level people walk down to the cafe very regularly. And if they are coming in from that cafe with the basic credentials, then you might want to relax authentication. Or say, for example, if you are seeing a challenge which is coming in from your competition, you might want to re-verify it multiple times on the same session as well. So all these capabilities are coming in because at the end of the at the core of the session, there is a risk score which is being created, and based on the value, we go ahead and create the challenge.
Oh. There's another one here, Shumik, about I think the geolocation one we've actually just answered. And I'm not sure if you know this one, but what do you see? I'm not sure if this is in our roadmap or not, but what do you see the future of voice-based authentication? And is it in our roadmap?
As of now, very frankly telling you, in 2021 roadmap, it is not.
Yeah.
We do voice-based authentication. So there are two aspects of voice-based authentication. One is there is a tone which is answered to. Say, for example, there would be a question wherein you would go ahead and answer with a dial tone or of your keypad. Okay, that's one. There would be a question which would be asked to you. You will basically answer through your keypad. The other one is you will answer through your voice, and we'll have a fingerprint of your voice. The second one is not addressed as of now. The initial voice-based authentication, wherein we'll ask you a question, you will answer with the keypad 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is already there.
Does the platform provide authentication for API calls?
Yes, it does.
Yep. All right. That was an easy one.
We have a REST-based API. At the back end, we have a SOAP-based API as well. At the back end, you can create any kind of a platform. You can create a Java, you can create a Python, you can create any kind of a access mechanism to access those SES calls.
All right. There's another question here. Can it be used for granting access to customers to internal systems? Which I'm assuming yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have, just to give you an example, we have customers in defense organization who have what do you call it? So what's the segregated thing which is called air gap environment inside an air gap environment? Give you an example. Especially defense organizations who have nuclear codes as well. Okay, so we have customers wherein we authenticate them as well. So the nuclear section and anything which is nuclear, they are again segregated from the rest of the internal enterprise itself. The internal enterprise does not have any kind of an internet access as well. So we can go ahead and in a single platform, give the authentication capability with a segregated, very clear view of the segregation between all of the zones to the customers as well. Number one. Number two, take a similar example wherein let us take one of the biggest example of this, Aditya Birla for that case. Not our customers at all, just taking an example. We have customers like Aditya Birla who have more than 21 different organizations as a part of the conglomerate as they grew in. Different of them, they created, some of them they acquired. So they have all their trust built in, and we can exactly create the replica of the same trust. Okay. Yep. So those capabilities are there to address your internal complex organization requirements as well.
Hey, Sumik, I think we've actually answered this question, but support for legacy applications that use LDAP as a primary authentication method.
Yeah, so LDAP as a primary authentication method, and secondary challenge would be associated with that.
Yeah. About Zero Trust, which all major platforms secure ID support, examples Windows, Mac, Linux, Ubuntu, Fedora, etc. What would be the minimum OS version for those? I'm sure we have minimum specifications.
So the minimum OS versions is the versions which are supported by the OEMs. Anything which is not supported by the OEMs, we still have documentation around that, but it would be very hard for us to support.
Okay. Google has recently said that passwords will become obsolete by the end of the next decade, 2040. Do you think this is true?
We have been saying this for the last 5 years now.
Yeah.
Google is doing a good work to advertise us.
Yeah. Another one, how about two-factor authentication and dynamic authentication in remote areas with limited network/internet?
As I said, you bring in a non-smartphone or you bring in a hard token. And or say, for example, if you even have, you don't need network access to use your smartphone mobile app. Once you have integrated with us, then it can be entirely offline. You don't need to do it. We'll still give you the passcode wherein it changes every 30 or 60 seconds. You can use that, or you can use a hard token for that case.
So you don't necessarily need any internet connections?
No.
Yeah. Can the solution coexist with Microsoft multi-factor authentication if Microsoft is already implemented on 365?
Yes, it can. So there are two ways of implementing this. Okay, two ways when I say is we can augment. There are customers where they have Microsoft. Their Microsoft use as a basic authentication, and we do the secondary challenge because the dynamicity of the challenge use cases for us. Or we can just be there would be a Microsoft platform. We can give you the single sign-on. We can give you the authentication platform. We can give you that.
Yeah.
We are running out of time, so we can take one last question, Gavin. Pick whatever you like.
Yes, I think we've actually answered most of these questions either indirectly or directly. There's one about competitors, which I'm sure there's lots of information about that up on the internet. The solution is only limited to authentication, or can it even be extended to record the sessions of privileged users?
No, we are not a PAM solution. Okay, so what we are saying, and not discrediting any kind of a PAM solution for that case. what we are saying is do it well at the first hand, and live easily about it. Give only appropriate access so that you don't have to rely on recording the sessions. What we are saying is we define appropriate access, we give appropriate access based on policies, based on approvals, and we will let you go ahead and do your authentication bit around it. Everything in those access granting and authentication will be logged and will be sent for different platforms to go ahead and consume those logs and make inference out of it. And if you still need a session, a solution which you can, where you need recording, we integrate with those solutions as well, where we govern everything, and then we can go ahead and ask those solutions to do your session monitoring for that case. So we integrate with Archon, we integrate with.
We are top of the hour. Let's keep it short because there's just 1 minute left. So
I'm pretty much done.
Yes.
Perfect.
Maybe Vikas, back over to you.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys. So just 1 minute left. I'm sharing my screen. If you want to get the participation certificate of this session, all you got to do is go to EliteCISOs website, and it is EliteCISOs.in, not .com. We are trying to recover our .com domain because it got stuck in Net for India, and there is no security certificate. We are aware of it and we are sorting it, right? So don't send me WhatsApp saying you are running a security webinar and your site does not have a SSL certificate. So we are aware of that. Okay. So to get the certificate, what you got to do is go to EliteCISOs.in, click on events, click on upcoming events, and then you will come to this page. Click on CP certificate link. Once you click on this, it will take you to a Google form. Fill your email address where you want the certificate, fill your full name, and then the secret to download certificate is Secure ID RSA, SECURID RSA. There is no E. And I should ask Gavin why there is no E. Secure it's a complete word, right? So I'm not sure why E is missing in Secure ID RSA. Gavin,
I think that's just a brand, because it's been around for a long, long time. I think people recognize it and very comfortable with it.
So Secure ID is the password. That's what you have to do over here in the download certificate secret, and then you will get your certificate. And last
just a fun fact.
A
fun fact. If you go ahead and spell SECUREID to older RSA guys, they might actually not feel very good.
Okay. I ensured that, okay, I spell it right. Initially, I had put the password as secure with E. And then I realized, no, this is not, there's no E in this. Then I had to update the password.
Then you would have heard from me.
So Secure ID RSA is the password, and you can download that. And last thing that everybody is waiting for is Wheel of Fortune. So we had about, how much it says, let me move this bar, 217 registration for this webinar. I have filtered the non-business email IDs. So all the Gmails and all the Yahoos, if you registered with that, those are not eligible for Wheel of Fortune. So they have been filtered out. Rest, I think there are about 190 names over here on this Wheel of Fortune. So I'm going to spin it. It will randomly pick one individual as a winner, and then we will give away Amazon Alexa. And in past so many webinars, the Alexa has remained in EliteCISOs Delhi chapter. Let's see how it goes this time. So I'm going to run it now. And it will randomly pick one winner. And today's winner is Pulak Das from Yakhi, India. Congratulations. I'm not sure about this registration. I don't know you individually, but if you are there in the session, go ahead in the chat and say, yes, you are here.
And I am there.
Yeah. Very nice. Good to see you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Send me your address. We will ship Amazon Alexa to you. Congratulations. If you have my number, I'm putting it in the chat over here for everyone. You can also WhatsApp me over on this one. And Manoj Nayak ji is saying that, okay, please filter out Delhi guys. So guys, next time we will have 2 awards, one for everyone. Rest one I will keep just for the Mumbai group. Okay, that's what we are going to do. And Mukesh ji, if you're
Thank
asking
you.
the Google link, go to EliteCISOs.in website, go to the events and upcoming event section. That's where you will get it. And if you are attending for the very first time and you would like to join Elite CISOs WhatsApp group, go to Elite CISOs website, click on membership, and you can fill this form and we will add you to the different chapter groups that we have, but ensure that this registration and the group membership is only for CIOs and CISOs. Okay. So if you are a CIO or CISO, go ahead, fill this form. We will be happy to add you to our groups. With that, thanks everyone for joining in. Thanks Somik, thanks Gavin, thanks Audrey, and the other team members from RSA. Thanks everyone for joining in. Bye. It's been a great session.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Keep safe. Thank you.